So for those of you who are not aware of what a teaching artist actually is, you should know that a teaching artist is not an art teacher. And what do I mean by that? So if I'm a musician, I'm a voice teacher, I'm an opera singer, and I can invite you into my music studio and I can teach you how to sing a song. I can teach you how to sing a scale. I can teach you how to sing something in Italian or in French or in German or in Russian. I can help you get rid of your stage fright. I can help you learn how to present yourself well on a stage. I can teach you a skill that then you can take and you can translate and transmit that skill to another person, to student. But the goal of the lesson itself is specifically that skill having to do with that particular artistic domain. This is not teaching artistry. So teaching artistry is more a form of facilitation. It is the act of bringing somebody into an artistic experience, deeply into an artistic experience, but the outcome is not necessarily about the transmission of a skill. There may be the transmission of a skill during that time spent together, but more than likely, the time that you spend working together with a teaching artist is about solving a problem. So to give you an idea, I have done in the past, and I'll talk a little bit about my background, but I have worked quite a bit in businesses and corporations, bringing music and the arts into businesses. And if I encounter a team of people who work together, but they have consistent conflict, yes, one way to solve that conflict is that they need to sit down and talk it out, or maybe they need to improve the chain of command, or maybe they need to improve some of the ways in which they work together. But first, the conflict, the emotional charge of the conflict has to be dissipated. And when people don't have the skill set to do that, or they're in a working environment where contact with one's emotions or expressing one's emotions in vulnerability is not necessarily welcomed, really that ends up being a recipe for bitterness, a recipe for holding on to things instead of letting them go. So a simple solution, and one that I use often, is getting them to sing together, getting them to sing around, for example, a canon, teaching them the same melody, which is repeated by different groups of people at different timings. So not only do they have a way of making music which is simple, but it's rhythmic, it's coordinated, and it brings them into an experience of beauty, an experience in which they are working together in community, an experience in which literally their hearts are beating together, because of course, when you sing together in a group, you are breathing together, and in breathing together, eventually your heartbeats start to work together. They start to harmonize in their rhythm. It's an experience in which people are utilizing their ears. They are listening to one another. They have to not only listen to their own voice, they also have to listen to the group that they're singing with together, that they're coordinating with together, and the other groups that are around them, so that they know what timing they're supposed to come in on. It seems like something simple, but the result consistently has been the open door to the resolution of conflict within a team in a business. So to give you a little bit of information about myself, I'm originally from California, from Southern California, where the sun almost always shines. And I have been a singer since the age of 9. Music chose me. I did not choose music. And I have tried many times to leave it behind, but it keeps chasing me pretty much everywhere I go. I have a bachelor's degree from Carnegie Mellon University. I have a master's degree from the Juilliard School. I've completed doctoral studies at University of California, Los Angeles, so UCLA, and have studied quite a bit in Europe with many, many teachers, and have had a lot of performing experiences on stages and as a recitalist. And I always thought that I would be the next great opera singer, every hopeful young musician or every hopeful young artist or young writer, filmmaker has the picture of being the greatest version, the greatest perpetuator of their art. And that's because that's what was taught to me when I was in conservatory. The box to fit in was the person who sings at Los Angeles Opera, or the person who sings at the Metropolitan Opera or Chicago Lyric or whatever it is, person who sings with the New York Philharmonic. And if you don't reach that level, then there isn't very much space in between for other things. There's this place where either you teach or you're a really well-known, famous singer. But the reality is that there is so much more. And I discovered after seeing where life took me through performance into contact with people who were hungry for and asking for artistic experiences, I learned that there is something so much greater and longer lasting than a performance, which might last anywhere from a few minutes to a couple of hours, and then it's finished, and that's it. So in 2010, I was invited by a colleague from college who had since joined the State Department as a diplomat. I was invited to go to Jordan and to give a program there, a cultural program, about rituals, about African-American spiritual songs, slave songs, this very specific genre of music, which also happens to be the root of much of the American music that we listen to. At the turn of the 20th century, there were a group of Black composers who were asking themselves the question, what does it mean to be Black and to be an American? What is Black culture? And to answer that question, part of answering that question was reaching out to the last living generation of slaves and collecting the music that they used to sing and preserving that music. How? By arranging it to be sung classically. And this was really brilliant because it meant not only was the music then published, it also opened the door for that music to be performed by many, many different people all over the world, no matter if they are African-American or not. So my first tour in Jordan, I really didn't know what to expect going to sing these songs, but it was well received. And out of that single program 10 years ago, or now I guess more than 10 years ago, I have traveled to 15 different countries. I have given upwards of 200 programs, collaborating with community organizations through our American embassies and consulates all over the world. I have worked with probably 30,000 people over those years from all walks of life, from cultural ministers, government officials, to music students in conservatories, to community organizations, to disabled communities, to at-risk youth communities, all sharing with them this jewel of American culture called spirituals. Yes, for the purpose of them hearing the songs and learning about this music. But really, this is where the teaching artistry comes in. It was about, and is about, building a cultural bridge between American culture and whatever country I'm visiting. It's about offering, it's about cultural diplomacy. So offering cultural gift, cultural exchange, cultural capacity building, and cultural information, correcting perceptions about American culture or Black Americans. And it has been extremely rewarding. My tours are anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to longer than a year. And it has shaped my journey as an artist so profoundly. I have learned so much about not only being an American outside of my country and feeling pride actually to represent the best values that America has to offer in foreign places, but also through the sharing of artistic experience, seeing how people transform as they hear new music, as they learn something new, how they take something away from these shared experiences, because we always, of course, sing together, and seeing and how their perspectives have changed, and seeing how over the years I remain in contact with a lot of the people that I have met and a lot of the community organizations that I've interacted with. So that's one aspect of my teaching artistry. Another aspect of my teaching artistry is in business. As I said, I worked for about 6 years for a corporation called ENGIE, which is a big energy company. It's the 6th largest energy corporation in Europe. And I, with a number of other artists, built an opera company in the middle of an energy company, which seems like these two things do not match. These two things do not go together. But in reality, they did go together. And they went together because this particular company happened to be going through upheaval on many levels. There was a wave of burnout, and they were having issues with change management. So bringing artists into the table, sitting artists at the table to help employees solve the problems that they were facing as this corporation they'd been working with in one form was shifting into another form. It was going from an old creation into a new creation. Having artists there in the middle to help facilitate that process was extremely valuable. And the result was community. The result was joy. The result was good health and resilience for the employees. The result was imagining something new. The result was the willingness to be vulnerable from between one employee to another. The result was people finding and discovering their voice. The result, in some cases, was people leaving the company, and in other cases was people deciding that they wanted to add something new to their skills, or apply for a higher position, or ask for that raise, or express that thing that they'd been holding inside that was making them so unhappy at work. So that's a little bit of my background. I moved to Ventura about 1 year ago and have since arriving, both worked at a startup, a Los Angeles-based startup for 1 year, and very recently launched my own cultural consulting business, which is focused on cultural diplomacy, arts advocacy, and arts access, creativity consulting in businesses, and lastly, music education and community outreach. So that's one picture of what a teaching artist looks like.